Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now the meaning and elements of the state. This is the geographical boundary of India. Meaning of state is it is a community of persons. Obviously state doesn't know that what religion is there, what language is spoken here. So it is basically the community of persons, more or less numerous, permanently occupying a definite portion of territory, having a government of their own to which the great body of inhabitants render obedience and enjoying freedom from external control. The Philippines is also a state. Gardner says that the state as a concept of political science and a public law is a community of persons more or less numerous permanently occupying a definite portion of territory independent or nearly so of external control and possessing an organized government to which the great body of inhabitants render habitual obedience. In this definition, the essential elements of the modern state population are territory, sovereignty, and government have been very clearly specified by Gardner. Now, Gardner says obviously this is community of people living under one boundary, and the population who is living in this is called community. Then it should be independent, democratic, independent in the sense no external control. That is your sovereignty. The essential elements of state. A state is not possible at all without population. Here you could see. This is world population. That is 7.9 billion in 2021. Why population is required? Because without people, is it possible to have a house without people? If this is a house and people are not living in it, it is not a house. It would be a flat only. It will be vacant. But a house becomes a home when people are there. So as a country becomes a nation when people are there, when citizens are there, they have the sense of belongingness, and world population refers to the human population, the total number of humans currently living in the world. Territory is an administrative division, usually an area that is under the jurisdiction of a sovereign state. Another constituent element of the state is a land or territory upon which the people have their home and within which the state exercises its jurisdiction. That means if we talk about India, this India is the territorial state for the Indians only. We have our own government, we have our own boundary, we have our own jurisdiction, and we don't have no external control. And how much territory is necessary? As with population, no limit can be laid down as to the extent of territory necessary to form a state. And states exist today with areas varying from less than 2 square kilometer, Vatican City, and 95,61,000 square kilometer China. The states of Monaco, Europe, Monaco, Asia, San Marino, Europe, stand nowhere in comparison with the states of Russia, Canada, and USA, covering millions of square kilometers. Government. The Government of India, often abbreviated as GOI, that is Government of India, and also referred to as the center, is the union government created by the Constitution of India as a legislative, executive and judicial authority of govern the union of 28 states and 8 union territories. Sovereignty means no external control. There was a time when people used to colonize, but now there is no point of colonization, and this colonization has been vanished after a very long time before. Like all Asian and African countries were out of it, and they promoted democracy after their independence. Most of the Asian and African countries were colonized under European or American countries, and sovereignty is the supreme authority within a territory, and sovereignty entails hierarchy within the state as well as external autonomy for states. And the fourth essential element of the state is sovereignty. It is the element which distinguishes the state from all other human associations. The word sovereignty denotes supreme and final legal authority above and beyond which no further legal power exists. Internal supremacy. Internally, state possesses absolute power over all persons and things within its territorial limits, and except those over whom it has waived its jurisdiction in order to fulfill its obligations. And under international law, there can be only one legal sovereign upon the same territorial over the same people. And the external independence. In international law, sovereignty stands for independent statehood and complete freedom from direct external control. And in this connection, it's important to note that there is no such thing as absolute sovereignty in international affairs. And some other attributes of the state. In addition to the four essential elements, the state is supposed to possess some more attributes. Each of them requires a brief mention. Let's talk about the first one, that is the element of permanence. The state is a permanent entity. State is permanent. Additions or partial loss of territory resulting from conquest or defeats do not affect the existence of state. Many times it happens like they have to face war, like a nation has to face war, but it doesn't mean that it loses its existence. Right? Because nation will remain nation, maybe win or defeat. It is the secondary matter, but its existence remain the same. Then continuity of state. Continuity of state is the property of a transition between two states of matter, as between gas and liquid, during which there are no abrupt changes in physical properties. This is continuity of state. Equality of state. The state shall not deny to any person equality before the law, because equality is the major thing. All are equal for law. It means that every person who lives within the country, like India, it has the equal rights, equal duties, and it means there is no difference on the basis of color, caste, gender, or place of birth. All are equally treated. Now, do the following come under the category of a state? Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir, Bhutan. So, we are going to read about these three states. Constitution of 69th Amendment Act. 69th Amendment 1991, right? And made some special provisions and respect to Delhi. It now has a legislative assembly. It has legislative assembly also. It has a council of ministers too. And nonetheless, it continues to be a union territory. It is administered by the government of India. And Delhi cannot be a state. It's not a complete state, because it does not possess supreme and final legal authority. Right? So we could say Delhi is not a complete state. Then let's move to Jammu and Kashmir. It was a princely state, right? Under the personal rule of its ruler, and it acceded to India on October 26, 1947. These are MCQ questions, and it is now one of the component parts of the Indian Union. And though it is designated as a state under the Constitution of India, it is not a state in the strict sense of the term. And Bhutan is also a small landlocked state. It is in the southeast slopes of the Himalayas, and Treaty of 1949 with the Government of India undertook not to have any interference in domestic matters of Bhutan. And on its parts, the Government of Bhutan agreed to be guided by the advice of India in regard to its foreign relations. In 1971, India recognized Bhutan's claim to full statehood. Bhutan thereupon became a member of the United Nations, and Bhutan is a self-governing state in respect of its internal and external affairs.